Hey guys, welcome to the podcast today. My name is Daniel Aranzamendi, and this is the Aranzamendi podcast. Remember that I share audios and videos about politics, social issues, and any kind of critical and breaking news that I think we should know about. I want to talk today on this podcast about Governor Greg Abbott. I just came across it last night. It was late, so that's why I didn't record the podcast last night. But I came across this news item in which he is accepting and arguing in court, admitting that he doesn't have any legal ground to ban the mask mandates in Texas. He signed an executive order banning counties, ISDs, schools from mandating the mask to stop the spread of COVID. But now he's admitting in court and arguing with his attorney general that he doesn't have the legal grounds. He doesn't have the means to enforce a ban. He needs local officials to do this, but his own local officials don't want to do it. So this came as no surprise because this already happened to Ron DeSantis. Also, I think it was also yesterday, a federal judge, it's blocking the executive order because there's no legal grounds to enforce that ban. So counties, schools, and ISDs are definitely capable of mandating the mask because this is a national health emergency. This is the global pandemic that we have going on. And you have networks like Fox News and others, but primarily Fox News. This is kind of like the trash can of all networks. Here's where you're going to find the greatest garbage when it comes to information related to the pandemic. This is complete politics on Fox News. These people are 24/7 questioning everything when it comes to the science, questioning social distancing, questioning and opposing lockdowns, pushing alternate treatments that are unproven and unsafe. Like right now, one of the biggest ones is ivermectin, which I already made and published another podcast about. Then there's confusion because they don't even clarify that there's a human option, that there's a human kind, there's a kind for people to use, and there's a kind for livestock. And people are going to farm supply stores and buying these livestock ivermectin, pastes or pills, and then calling poison centers. So I want to clarify that because somebody actually called me out on that, saying like, hey, you're not saying that this is actually available for human consumption. And yes, it is, but not for COVID. If you go to the actual Merck pharmaceutical page, it tells you directly that it's not made for COVID. So the FDA, the NIH, the WHO, and even the pharmaceutical, you have 4 official sources, including the manufacturer, the pharmaceutical, telling you don't use this for COVID. So that was pretty much the main essence of my podcast on ivermectin. Yes, it's been used for some deworming human, like people-related conditions, but that doesn't mean it's safe for COVID. So anyway, aside from that parenthesis, Fox has been pushing all this narrative, anti-COVID science narrative, anti-COVID official science narrative, because they like pushing this questionable doctors and questionable scientists, primarily questionable doctors. They love pushing that, but not the official science. They love attacking Dr. Fauci. They love attacking anything that comes from the Biden administration. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad, which is very sad because it comes down to what I want to say about Governor Greg Abbott and Ron DeSantis in Florida. It boils down to politics 101. So if the Biden administration were to recommend lockdowns, you have to argue freedom. You're attacking my freedom. If they recommend social distancing, then you have to say something to oppose that. If they recommend a mask, masks don't work. There's a debate. This is not settled in the scientific community. And so on. Guys, you've seen this happen. It's just political bullshit. I have to be honest with you. And I think both Greg Abbott, governor of Texas, and Ron DeSantis in Florida, these people are just thinking about the next elections. If Trump happens to not be the candidate, who do you think is going to be the candidate? Very likely, everybody's saying it's going to be Ron DeSantis. Abbott may have his aspirations too, but so far, based at least on what Fox is trying to push, and the level of popularity, I think Ron DeSantis has been way more radical than Abbott in gaining the exposure kind of in a Trump-like way, if that makes sense, right? I think Ron DeSantis is following that radical hard line for that extreme right, that's far right wing. in which he's catering to the same freedom arguments, to the same cultural battles, to the same anti-science people. So that's what Trump did. I think he's just pitching to that base, trying to follow the Trump playbook. Abbott is doing the same in Texas, but this is the sad part. They don't have the legal ground to enforce the ban on the mask mandate. And the saddest part is that they don't have any real medical backup for that. And they don't have any scientific backup either. And now we even know they don't have the legal backup. So no medical backup, no scientific backup, no legal backup. Therefore, it comes down to politics. This is not about saving lives. This is not about freedom. This is about politics. This is about playing to a base that is all about cultural wars. And that's it, nothing else. This is not about protecting the teachers. This is not about protecting students. This is not about saving lives. This is not about helping the health system, the hospitals that are completely full with beds. There's a bunch of areas here, hospitals in Texas, that are running out of beds, ICU beds. Cancer patients are being sent back home. They go to the hospital to get treatments. They don't have beds. They don't have a way to give them the treatment. They are unfortunately sending them back home. These people are scrambling to find a hospital to get the treatment they need because COVID is just getting out of hand. So much disinformation out there. So I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. I want to know what you think. Do you think these governors, Abbott and DeSantis, do you think they're doing good? Do you think it's even logical to ban a mask mandate? Because I don't see a way that somebody can get sick or die or be affected, psychologically affected by the fact that they are required to use a mask. But I can see how if you don't use a mask, you can actually cause death to somebody else, even if you don't die, because you may be just asymptomatic. You can spread a deadly virus. So I agree with Sean Penn, the movie actor, who recently just said that you not being vaccinated, not using a mask, and just being out in the public like that, like nothing's happening. It's just like walking around pointing a gun to somebody's head. So I want to know on which side you stand. Are you in favor of enforcing the mask mandates? Or are you more in favor of the freedom argument? Oh, my freedom. Oh, freedom. Tell me. I want to know. So leave me a comment. Don't forget to subscribe. If you're here, you're listening, I care about you. So please subscribe, share the podcast, like it, leave a comment. Let's keep talking about these topics. This pandemic is going nowhere unless we come together and we do whatever is reasonable and based in science. Let's follow the professionals, the medical associations, the CDC, FDA guidelines. We have to do the right thing, guys. Sooner or later, we have to do the right thing, or this is going to keep costing more to the country, more in terms of money, more in terms of debts. It's just unacceptable. I think it's ridiculous. So anyway, this is Daniel Aranzamendi. This is the Aranzamendi podcast. And remember, I'm going to be publishing podcasts and videos daily about politics and social issues, critical breaking news that we should know about. And you can find the podcast on pretty much all major platforms. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud. We have the YouTube channel. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're even on TikTok. So it's going to be all over the place. So thank you for being here and stay tuned because I'm coming back with more topics for the podcast very soon, daily. Thank you.